This is a little bit of a different video because I want to show you guys how to play my favorite game, Wingspan. I'm not just into mushrooms, I'm obsessed with birds too. And I've loved this game so much. I play it with everyone I live with about every day. And I want to show you guys how to play it because there's not a ton of videos on how to play it, and it can get a little complicated. But I want to show you guys why I love this game. I get a ton of questions about it when I post it on my Instagram story, when I get a perfect little ecosystem of birds going. So I thought this would be fun to bring more awareness to this game and show you guys how to play it. I'm not saying this is going to be the best playthrough, but if I had to teach somebody how to play this game, this is how I do it. So let's go. So this is your player board. This is where you're going to lay your birds, and you can lay them in one of three habitats depending on the bird. The first habitat, you have the forest habitat, and if you activate this habitat on a turn, you gain food. This is the grassland habitat. If you activate this habitat, you will be able to lay eggs on your birds, and this is the wetland habitat. If you activate this habitat, you will be able to draw cards. It also comes with all these nice little trays to hold your game pieces. Took me so long not to want to eat these because I still kind of want to eat them. So this is how it looks like when you start a game. Every player starts with 5 birds. You get one of each kind of food: berries, rodents, arthropods, grains, and fish. These blocks represent your turns. After every turn, your block will end up at the end, at the left of the board, and that will represent the end of your turn. You have the bird feeder. This has 5 dice and can be rolled up top here. And this is where you gain food. From the gain food option, your eggs. You usually have like a little tray of eggs. That look like candy. And then you also have 3 birds that you can draw from here that you can see. Otherwise, there's the draw pile here. Now, the entire game ends at 4 rounds. So these little 2-sided tokens here, without really looking, I mean, we'll be looking, but we'll place them at the end here, and this will be the goal of the round. So in round 1, you want the most birds in the grassland habitat. Now, what represents a round? That's when all of these tokens are used, these little wooden dice. So if I play a bird, it will go here. I could play it in any of these habitats, depending. With the bird, this one can only be laid in the grassland habitat. And with the slash there, it means that I can pay either a worm or a grain. With these plus signs, you have to pay 2 grains and a worm and able to play this card in a wetland habitat. So on my first turn, if I were to lay the Savannah Sparrow, I could pay just 1 grain and I don't have to pay any eggs, and I move this to the play bird, and that's my turn. So as you can see, every round has more points. So it's always good to look ahead. Now these are like eggs in wetlands. So that's the amount of eggs that you have in the wetlands. So these eggs here are the eggs that this bird can hold in their nests. So, but you do have cards that are like this. Birds with ground nests that have eggs. So it's not the amount of eggs, it's just the amount of birds that you have played out of your hand that have ground nests. So these bonus cards that are given to you right away, you have to discard one before the game can start. So, based on the birds given, and these, let's see. Birds with a wingspan over 65 centimeters. The wingspans are going to be right there. And it doesn't look like we have a lot. Birds that eat grains, this one eats a grain, this one eats a grain, this one does, and that one does. So we should keep this bonus card, because if by the end of all 4 rounds, if 5 to 7 birds on my ecosystem here have grains as their option of feed, then we get an extra 3 or 7 points. So we'll keep that one secret and safe, and this one will be discarded. So we're still not ready to start the game yet because we have all of our birds and all of this food. Now, we discarded our 1 bonus card, but we also have to discard birds if we want to keep some of our food. So for every bird you keep, you have to discard a food. Now, if we look at our goals here, we really want to get birds in the grassland territory for round 1. So we might want to look at discarding some birds that aren't in the grassland territory, so we only have to discard a few food. But I'm actually going to keep my eastern screech owl because since he is a forest bird, they will help us gain food. So we'll just discard two birds. We'll have a little discard pile going. Plus you can take these birds into consideration. And then we only have to discard 3 food. And since they all eat a grain, we're going to want to keep a grain, want to keep a worm, we can discard these 3. Since the owl has a slash instead of a plus sign, we can pay just 1 worm to play this bird. So let's do it. Let's play a bird, and let's play our eastern screech owl. Let's pay an arthropod. My favorite way to play this game is when you use your turn to play a bird, you have to share the bird and share the fun fact about that bird. So this is the eastern screech owl, and its fun fact is these owls live near humans, but because they're small and nocturnal, they're rarely seen. So now let's say they play their turn and they gain food. Let's say that they take the cherry. And when you take a cherry out of the bird feeder, you put it to the side and leave it to the side and put it in your food cache. And then let's say that it's my turn. And let's say I would like to gain food. Let's see what we've got. We only have a grain. So let's gain a worm. So we'll take a worm out of the bird feeder. And if there's no worm in the bird feeder, then we don't have a worm to take. So we'll take a worm. And you always play to the left or to the right of the bird on the category that you're playing. So this would be my turn. If I were to lay eggs, then this is where I'd lay eggs. If I were to draw a card, this is where I'd draw a card. But I'm using my turn to take food. So we have our food, and then we move down the line. So now we can roll the dice not in the bird feeder. So that discludes these dice. We take these 2. If there are none outside, then this power cannot work. And you don't have to activate a bird, because sometimes activating a bird can help your opponent and not you. So let's say that one of these is a mouse. Then we'll take a mouse from the supply. This is the supply. And we'll cash it on this card. You cannot use this mouse to pay for birds. You cannot take this mouse off this bird. But at the end, this will be an extra point. Now let's say that we're partway through the game and we've only got a few turns left of the round. And we've laid some eggs. Now let's say that I want to play another bird in the grassland. And we'll play the Savannah Sparrow. Now this Savannah Sparrow has a cool thing where it's when it's played, so it's only when it's played, play a second bird in your grassland and pay its normal cost. So it costs 0 eggs, and we'll pay in 1 grain. And then we can immediately also lay this red-winged blackbird. Now this does cost us an egg. So once you start building up your birds, it's going to cost you more than just food. So we'll take this egg off of our owl and we'll pay the grain. But you can see how this is a really good power because you only have so many turns. And now we have 2 birds in the grassland territory to go for round 1. But now we're out of birds. So to end this, since it doesn't look like our player isn't playing any birds at all, we can rest assured that we've won this round. So for our last 2 turns, let's get ready for round 2. Let's use a turn to draw a card. And let's look at these 3 cards. This hooded merganser is looking pretty good. Let's take him. He only costs 1 worm and 1 fish. We have 1 worm. So let's take him, and that is our turn. Now we will immediately put another bird there from the draw pile. Now they take a turn, still lay nothing. What a terrible player. But then let's gain some food. So let's gain food out of the bird feeder, and let's take the fish that we need. Now, this is interesting too. So if I had been able to draw 2 food from the bird feeder, and I still had another one I could draw, I don't have to draw the grain. If there's the same food left in the bird feeder, you can choose to re-roll all of the dice. And I do just want to point out that this is its own unique dice. So this does not count as the same food being in the bird feeder. So I can re-roll all of them and be like, oh, cool, great, I wanted a berry. But you can't go back after that. So let's take this over here. We can roll the dice. There's only one die outside of the bird feeder. And see, so if I didn't re-roll all of them, I would have had a lot of dice to roll if I didn't do that. Not a mouse. So you can see there's a lot of really cool strategic ways to play this game. And let's say that the round is done. So you count up how many birds you have in the grasslands. I have the most, clearly. So I'll put myself in first place. And because they have no birds on their board, because they're such a bad Wingspan player, they will actually get 0 points, not second place. They would have to have a bird in the grassland territory to get any points. So to reset the round, you'll put all of your blocks to the side again, noticing that one block will stay on the round sheet, making it harder and harder because you'll have less and less blocks for turns. You will discard all of the cards, no matter what, from there, and replace them with all new birds. And just to point out another interesting thing, some birds have between turns. So if your opponent plays a grassland bird, you can tuck a card behind this bird from your hand. So let's say if you have this one out here, the useful thing is, if you have a lot of powers for drawing cards and you're drawing like 10 cards every time you activate draw cards, you can put some behind this bird for extra points at the end. So the same way, this is an extra point, this is an extra point at the end, eggs are an extra point at the end. Which is my other favorite thing about this game. You can earn points in many different ways, and people who think that they're winning might not actually be winning. And no matter what, to also start the next round, you have to re-roll the dice and make sure that they're all in the bird feeder. And for an example, let's say you have all of the birds filling up your grassland territory, for example. When you put your block here to play this, you would put 4 eggs first on any of these birds, or any birds in your grassland or wetland. That can go anywhere. You can even trade in, these are food options. You can trade a food in for another egg. Then you can continue to go down the line, activate this one, tuck a card from behind your hand if you do lay 1 egg. So that's the red-winged blackbird's a really powerful card because 2 extra points right there. Add an egg, put a card behind. That's a when played. That's a between turn. And that's, yeah. So then that's your turn. You just go from this way to this way. And when your block is here, your turn is over. So these are all of the different points that you can earn. If you see these numbers on the side of the feathers, those all add up. So on your playing board, not including what's in your hand, you add up 2, 4, 8, and that will be your points there. Your bonus cards. So we look at this. Birds that eat grains also only applies to what's on the board. We have 2, so we didn't make it because we need 5 to 7 birds. End of round goals. This is where you add all of these rounds up. Eggs. So every egg is a point. So if we had this many eggs, it'd be 3 points. Food on cards, we have 1 cached. And then tucked cards, that would be what this horned lark can do. So there's a lot of different ways that you can earn points. So I hope this was helpful. You can play it in a variety of ways, and you can even play on your own. They have different levels of bots for cards that you can play against like the computer, which is really neat. They really did think of everything from the scientific name of the birds, from the nest being relevant to real birds, from the bird facts to the powers being relevant to the birds. They even have like wild card type of birds that are pretty cool with any environment and any sort of nesting area. They also have different themes of this game. So I know there's a dragon game, and I did hear they might be making a mushroom one, which would be really cool. So yeah, I love games. If you didn't know that about me, I love like war games. I love strategy. Like Axis and Allies or Risk. I love chess. I love word games like Scrabble. I love adventure games. I go to trivia every week. I love games. And this just incorporates everything that I love in a game in this game right here because it's educational, strategic, it's about birds, and I love birds. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope this inspired you to go get this game and try it out and play with your friends because game night is the best night. And much love, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And if you are still watching this, thank you so much. I know it's a bit of a long video, but there was a little pavilion up there because I'm working on finishing my budding entomologist certificate. I did this once when I was young, and I love butterflies as well. Again, scientific names, I'm still learning with birds and butterflies. I'm trying to learn butterflies this year. Danaus plexippus is the monarch, which is what I wanted initially, but it looks like Painted Lady is the most moral butterfly to grow inside, and then once they're butterflies, we'll release them outside. I'll make a little video, but this is just a little teaser to that. But yeah, I love this. I'm gonna frame it once I successfully grow some butterflies.